Hello, I'm Butch Curry from Zombie Nirvana Games. Welcome to the 15th episode of Fantasy Cartography with Adobe Photoshop, the podcast where I share my favorite tips, tricks, and techniques to help you make cool maps for your role-playing games. Before we get started, I'd like to thank all of the folks who've emailed me and left comments at zombienirvana.com. During the debacle of trying to get the last episode online, your support really helped keep me going, and I just want to let you know that I really appreciate it. Now let's get started. As I mentioned a couple of episodes back, this map that we're working on has a very painterly style to it. One of the great things about Photoshop is that it gives us an amazing tool to capture the look that we're going for with surprisingly little effort once you know what you're doing. That tool, of course, is Photoshop's brush engine, and today we're going to use it to help create some forests for our map. There are three keys to making this technique really work. The first is choosing the right colors. Now, I took all of episode 5 to talk about some different things that you can do to help you choose better colors. So you might want to check that one out if you haven't seen it yet, or if you just want a quick refresher course. Now, on the map that I'm working on here, before I even try to start really painting my forests in, I want to make sure that I have a couple of good colors chosen. So in order to do that, I'm going to come over here, make a new layer, right on top, and I'm going to pick a nice dark green. And with just a standard hard-edged brush, I just want to paint it down, and I just want to see how it looks against my landmass color. That one right there looks pretty good. So I'm going to hit X to swap colors, and I want to pick another one that's maybe a little more yellow. Or maybe that, a little more orange yellow. That looks pretty good. Now I would normally spend a long time trying to pick exactly the right colors. I think I did pretty good here on the first try, but don't be afraid to experiment and try some different ones to get exactly the ones that you like. So now that I have a couple of colors chosen, I'm just going to hit Control-A to select everything on this level and clear it out. And Control-D to deselect. Now the next step to making this technique work is choosing the right brush. So I'm going to come up here to my brushes palette. And I want to load the wet media brushes, so I'm just going to come to the flyout menu, all the way down here to wet media. Just hit OK here. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to select, that's it right there, watercolor textured surface. And I need to adjust this a little bit. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to turn on color dynamics. I'm going to add some foreground and background jitter, but I'm going to leave the control off. Basically what that's going to do is it's just going to randomly alternate between my foreground and background color. I'm going to add just a little bit of hue jitter and a little bit of saturation jitter. That's going to add a little more variation in the colors as I go through. So now I can just close this. I'm going to zoom in here just a bit. Back to my brush. I'm going to turn airbrush off. All the airbrush function does is will add more color if you hold down the brush. I don't really need that. I'm going to reduce the opacity down to about 40%. And I'm going to switch the mode to multiply, because I want the colors that I'm putting down to kind of build on top of each other. Finally, to make this technique really work, we need the right technique. Now you could just go through and start painting in, but that doesn't look very interesting. It doesn't really bring out the full effect of a lot of those tweaks that we made in the brush engine. The best way I found to do this is to treat it more like a sponge effect, to go through and just tap, and just really let those colors vary and build up. And you can see right away that you start getting a really nice kind of watercolor effect there. Now this takes a while, but I think it's really worth it. As you can see, we're really kind of building up a nice little forest area here. It might be a little too brown, but again, that's one of the things of selecting the colors. You might get through all this, decide you don't really like it because it's looking too brown. You just select everything, delete it. Maybe select a different color for your foreground color, something a little lighter, like say this one, and then try it again. Just keep trying until you get exactly the colors that you want. Once you do, what you really want to do is come over here to your Tool Presets menu, click on the Create New new tool preset button and save it. So we'll just call this watercolor forest. So that now we can always come back if we want to do something else and select that tool again with the colors and everything included, and we can go right back to work on creating our forests. So I'm going to pause the video for just a little bit, build this forest up a bit more so you can see what the final result is going to look like. And here you can see a little closer what the final result is going to be for our forest. If you want to add a few highlights, what you can do is just swap your foreground and background colors, change the mode back to normal, and then you can go through and just add a few little dots of pure yellow on top. Just like that. That'll help kind of give it a little pop. And that's going to do it for this week. Don't forget to stop by zombienirvana.com to check out this week's show notes and for more information about my upcoming fantasy cartography book. Until next week, thanks for listening and happy mapping.
Will ye go, lassie, will you go?